good evening from the UK, or late good afternoon. Welcome to Inception Podcast. I'm back with another conversation. Before we get into the conversation, I'd like to say Inception Podcast can be found on the Forbidden Knowledge News Network, where you can view amazing, inspirational, and conscious expanding interviews with podcasts such as Forbidden Knowledge News, Beyond Classified, Day Zero, Dawson Files, Raised by Giants, and Inception Podcast. Mwah. Okay, this evening I welcome in the conversation is this lovely young man here. Would you like to introduce yourself, Frank?
My name is Frank Jacob. I'm a director of movies, films, documentaries. I'm a researcher and a presenter and have various interests in what could be called paranormal subject matter, I guess you could say.
Okay.
And that would be a pretty much nutshell description of me.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And where are you in the world at the moment? I'm in the UK.
At the moment, I'm in Bavaria, Germany.
Ah, you're in Germany. So the time difference, it's roughly 5:30 here. What's it in Germany?
It's 6:30.
Oh, you're just an hour ahead. That's not too bad.
Yeah, I'm already an hour into your past or future. You're in my past.
I'm in your past. Now, normally
That's right.
When I have the Americans come on, I'm like up to 8 hours ahead of them. So I always tell them their future's good because I'm here and I've prepared the way. So is my future good in an hour's time? Is it good?
Your future is splendid.
Oh, well, there you go. No issue there. Right then, are you ready to have a conversation about consciousness and to go down the rabbit hole? I got brain fog, don't worry. Free falling, not just stepping down, free fall all the way down and see what we can come up with. Are you ready for this?
I can't guarantee the results, but I guess I'm ready.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, from your truth, from your perception, what is the human experience? That's the first door we're going to go in.
The way I see it, the human experience is a 3D experience, which is happening in this matrix reality we feel is real all around us, being explored by our higher selves, which lie outside of this dimension or in higher and other dimensions for the purpose of learning, sharing, expanding, and evolving.
Wow. Why do all the people I talk to are more eloquent than I in explaining this? You know, I love it. That was beautiful. So, okay, that's a good. We'll go back to it. We will come back to it. However, we're going to move to the second door. So on that, you've just expressed your human experience. So the next door, when we open it, it's why am I here then? So why are you here? Going through what you're going through, Frank?
That's a pretty tough question, because if I think back on how I would have answered that question 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it's a different answer every time. Yeah. So whatever answer I'm going to give you now pertains only to the level of me at this point.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I think given the last couple of years of what we've gone through collectively as humanity, it's been more and more of a collective experience than I ever had before. I think that in the past, I was much more individualistic.
Yeah.
Generally, people used to say I'm about 10 to 20 years ahead of where things are with my ideas. And I would say I've landed now in a place where those friends or colleagues or brothers and sisters that are close are very much in tune and resonating at a certain place that's very similar. And then there seems to be this other side now, which is very defined, of a larger portion of the population, which is separated to being no longer part of a gray zone. I think I talked about that on that show the other night, about how the gray zone has vanished.
Yes.
So it's very clear now. There's this defining line between who you are, your truth, and others out there who no longer feel comfortable even allowing you to share or be in your truth, but find not only that it's not comfortable, that it actually might even be a threat to their very existence. So in that context, I would say that my role now and why I'm here can only really be that I'm kind of a shit disturber. I'm sort of here to, push the boundaries. And my personal interest has a lot to do with uncovering the truth. Now, a lot of people say truth is relative and blah, 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 but there's a certain kind of an imperial truth. There are events that took place in history, which actually did take place, at least in this timeline that I've been on, that have been altered, manipulated, changed by people that are in control of media and popular communication methods. And because I'm working in those fields as a media producer, I have a unique insight into that. So for me, the truth is very much uncovering where we were lied to, because 100 years ago, it was very much easier to lie to the public with propaganda than it has been since we've been given the tools of sharing, such as the internet, such as computers. Now, that doesn't guarantee that we're going to be able to not be succumbing to the propaganda. In fact, maybe it's even gotten worse in some levels, but it certainly does allow us to share information and share quicker, and access information much better than we ever could in the past.
Okay. Thank you. That's really interesting. I'm going to come back to a point on there, definitely the point that you're a shit stirrer, because I think I'm one of those too. Welcome to my world, your world, the club. You spoke about way back in the day when you were more sort of independent in your consciousness, more about ourselves, and I was just like you. But now it's more collective. Would you say, I know I've digressed slightly, it's on another door, but I want to touch upon this. Would you say that this could be described as you're now more interconnected with other conscious beings than you ever were through this timeline of experiences?
Yes, I think that that has to do with that other people out there that are in the world of consciousness expansion or disclosure or truth, the path of finding out these kinds of informations, are finding themselves more and more isolated due to that thing I was describing, and therefore coming together more rapidly and with more of an urgency than ever before.
Beautiful answer. Thank you for that. Now I'm going to jump back to you becoming your purpose. Who are you? You're a shit stirrer. So you've come here. Now, if we expanded upon that, who am I? And I don't say shit stirrer lightly. I mean, it's just, I was going to say it's a serious position to be. It is a serious position to be in. So would you agree with me? You don't have to, but does it resonate with you, should I say, that who you are is someone who's come into this human experience to assist in revealing the truth about who you are and who we all are, or any of the above?
I mean, I'm not really sure I need to reveal the truth of who I am, because actually the more of me that gets out of the way, the better in some ways.
I mean the true self, not the ego, not your...
Sure, I guess, yeah, that's right. And also, who others are and what they truly are. Yeah, absolutely. Who we truly are, who we really are. In fact, I think that's one of the last lines of my last film that I did. It's like, who we truly are is a big question, right? Who we truly are has a lot more to do with our greater self than with the limited perception that we use to define our world in 3D.
Yeah. No wonder your documentaries and films are amazing. You're so on it. So the third door, okay, you've already answered from who am I, why am I here? So we don't need to, we've already gone through two doors together there. So on the back of what we've just gone into, we're going down the rabbit hole now. We're camped out down the bottom for the moment. You can have coffee, alcohol, whatever you choose. It really doesn't matter. Ayahuasca, LSD, or just water. It's irrelevant to me. It's going to get crazy now. From your truth, your perspective, and description you've given me so far, can you tell me your truth of what you think this reality is? There are many, they're just labels. We use language. One day it will not exist, which will be beautiful. It'll be telepathy and the rest. However, at the moment we use language. So there's terminologies like it's a simulation, it's a matrix, it's an illusion. I use two analogies to try and articulate what I'm trying to express, which is intangible to express. And I use the dream state. It's like a dream. I'm aware, lucid dreaming. I'm aware, I'm the observer. Or I use another analogy that it's like a film and I'm one of the actors in the film. So I'm participating, but I'm the observer watching it at the same time. So to put more clarification on what is reality. So what's your truth on that one, Frank? What's reality?
I liked what you were saying about the film, because I've often felt that too, that we are the writers,
the
directors, the actors, the supporting role, the audience, the extra, the extras,
yes, the extras,
right? That all applies. And yes, the simulation thing makes a lot of sense too. We talked, people don't know what I've done, and I also work together with a very wonderful person, Tanya Maidenford, and we produced a lot of not just movies but also shows, and one of them had to deal with paranormal things, and we got to talk to people like Eben Alexander and Tom Campbell, for example. And Tom Campbell is somebody who describes this. He's written this trilogy called My Big Toe, the theory of everything.
I'm aware. Yes, years ago, I'm aware.
Right. And he's sort of a graduate of the Bob Monroe Institute, and they would go into regressive sessions where he would astral travel, and they experimented with the idea of trying to identify things in the astral world and bringing them back, and eventually more than one person doing the astral traveling together and finding the same external worlds. And having heard some of that information and gone through it, it's clear that the idea of a simulation is very legitimate. And it makes a lot of sense in terms of our bodies, the hardware. We have an operating system, which is the agreed rules that everything around us is table is hard and this water is wet. And, if we drink, we swallow, and we get, all these things, right? All these nuances and subtleties that are part of our 3D world. And that our higher soul or higher self inhabits this hardware under the agreement of using the operating system. Like whenever you install one on your computer, what is the first thing you have to do? Read the fine print and click yes, I accept, right? Who of us reads the fine print? Mind you, none of us do, right? We just click, I want software, right? I want into it. We click and we're into it, and all of us have gotten into it, and now we're in it. We're going, damn, I didn't read that fine print, did I? This couldn't be happening, could it? This isn't right. This isn't real. This isn't fair.
We blame someone else. I used to say years ago, someone forged my name. Someone signed it on my behalf. It wasn't me. But yeah, I agree with you on that one. Yeah, I agree.
Exactly. So the idea of the simulation being that, it's not real, only, I think has validity in terms of that there have been people in the 3D operating system who have obviously broken the rules, who are not operating on the regular same. They can walk through the wall, or they can levitate, or they can bend spoons, or mind read, and all these things. Those people are proof that there's more to the operating system than the coders put in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So I think, at this point, I mean, and then there was the Matrix trilogy that came out, and of course now there's the new Matrix coming out,
number
and everyone's
4,
excited, right? But the first one was probably, in my opinion, the most powerful one, because it was the most unique, and it challenged a lot of people's ideas about, that you've got this sleeping body, and then you've got this part of you which is in the dream world, just like you described. So I think it doesn't really even matter, because in the end, if you accept that you're not part of the operating system, or you're not the simulation, or whatever you want to call it, the language in itself doesn't really matter anymore. I think at that point you realize there's a part of you which is maybe eternal. And then there's a part of you that you're experiencing which is temporary. And
I agree with the sorry to interrupt, but I've got to come back to the first Matrix. I'm really excited to watch number 4. I really am. I agree. The first one was the most, I mean, I got to say, whoever scripted that, well, we know who scripted it, but let's get back to the Homo sapiens sapien. Whoever scripted that, or the script writers of that, were definitely awake and aware, because they nailed it. And at the time, but I've watched it again recently, and obviously my consciousness has shifted since then. I'm more aware of other things. When I go back and watch it again, oh my God, how correct, how dead on the analogy is, because it's an analogy. It's just an analogy to try and give us the awareness to who we truly are. And I totally agree. It's fantastic. I got all my kids, hundreds, no, I haven't really, but watch The Matrix, to open their mind, open your mind, think outside the box. And I know many, including myself, come away from watching that thinking, I didn't realize I had a choice. I could just go left if I want to. So I agree with that. So, okay, right, we've gone into the reality, and thank you. That your description, your truth, and how you put that across was beautiful, and I resonate with that as well. Thank you for that. So now we're in this reality. We've gone deeper down the rabbit hole, okay, and we're stuck, okay. We're stuck there unless we can open up the next 4 doors, okay. We're stuck down this rabbit hole with all the drugs and drink and everything we need, but still, we got to get out of here. So the next door, number 5, in the context of what we've just described, who then is ET? And ET I use as a label, but it's an umbrella to cover all dimensional beings. So you can have, everyone calls different things. You can have greys and reptilians, or you can have angels, or you can have the elementals and blah de blah, the leprechauns, because I come from an Irish family and they're naughty. But apart from that, so coming from this, your conversation now, door 5, who is ET to you? Who's ET?
Well, there are apparently many races of extraterrestrials.
Yeah. But to you, hold on, I'm back up here, put the brakes on.
You want it to be, what is it
to
me?
Your truth, yes, from your truth, not what other people say, not even what I say, from your truth at this point. Now, I know my truth changes constantly the more that I learn and awaken and understand. So at this point now, on this timeline right now, what is your truth? What is ET?
Well, ET would have to be a more advanced version, or like a version of a being that is part of my reality, that has perception of things.
Wow.
Which I maybe don't yet have.
Wow.
Not to say that I'm not able to perceive those same things, but if I'm part of my operating system is based on a code, a genetic code, which we call the DNA, we now know that there's what they call junk DNA, which is actually not junk.
No.
And then ET would be that version of reality of me or of a higher brother or sister who
The
has
upgrade.
unlocked more aspects of those genetic, or let's just forget calling them genetics, just call them more, they have an enhanced version of the software that they're working with.
Upgrade. Yeah. They're the upgrade.
They've upgraded, exactly.
Oh, that was profound. I love that. Okay, right. So now we're going to go to door number 6. I think I may get the vodka out for this one. The way you're going, this is good. I'm loving this. So on the back of that, how are we connected to them? You've already touched upon it. Now, there's sort of 2 ways you can look at it. So if I say, for example, from the juxtaposition, I come from non-duality. So I've got a juxtaposition. There's the Homo sapiens sapien, the avatar, the being that does all the beingness, in the film or whatever, the actor. But then I'm aware of the consciousness. So it's a 2-part question, I suppose, really. So are you able, but if you can answer it in a 1 part, it's your truth. There's a DNA connection, which you've already touched upon. So that comes from the 3D reality, physiological, psychological, biological, blah, blah, blah. But there is the other side, the inner side. I don't like to separate them because it's one, which is the consciousness side. So I'm coming at this question and opening this door from the Homo sapiens sapien perspective. How are we connected to them?
Well, maybe you could say we're their all-star players on the field.
But what's the essence? What's the connection?
The connection is they need eyes and ears on the ground.
Wow.
And they need someone to resonate with in order to be able to understand the human experience better for themselves as well. For some reason, they're not able to have the avatar. They're not able to participate on the field. But because they're connected to us, some of us they're connected to very intimately, and others are connected in an unconscious way, I believe. Like it's like they said, okay, you're going to be our player. We're going to put you in. But the only thing you have to accept is you're going to forget that you're with us. You're just going to know that you're in that game, and you don't know that there's us, because that's the way it has to be. Otherwise, it won't be authentic. The best actors are those who actually... Yeah, the best actors are those who you don't buy that they're acting. You actually think the character is real.
Absolutely.
So we are connected to them as the real characters who are acting the absolute authentic being in this dimension for them to experience.
That was profound. I mean, that was deep. That was deep shit. I'm coming back at you for that one because I loved it. I mean, as you were talking it, I was just getting this energy and just joy, and I don't take the human experience too seriously, and they don't either. It's not fear-based for me. And it's like I become aware, I told you, you're us. We sent you in. And before you actually said that, I was picking that up and I couldn't believe that you were just saying what was, and that could be the truth. That's just exciting to think, ooh, maybe I'm, like a spy or something.
Look, it would explain a lot, wouldn't it? I mean, there's people
it
would. If you just take the analogy of film, like we've been into, there are some people that like peaceful films. There's some people that like drama films.
Yeah.
There's some people that like horror films, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
So it's like a corresponding bond with each of the different races, to experience that aspect of what it's like to be human, right?
No, I mean, put that truth on the table, and I like that as well. I like my truth, and I like that truth. This is fun, and you could say, "Who's ET?" Well, I'm ET. Well, if you're coming from the juxtaposition and answering that question hypothetically, metaphorically, guys, from consciousness. That is the case. That is it. There's only one, so I'm that as well. So, but we did it from Homo sapiens sapien. That was a bloody fantastic response. We are so down this. I love that. I'm going to have to ponder and use a bit of discernment on that. I love that. That was fantastic. Okay. Right, now we're going to door number 7. On the back of that, okay, we've got the dinner ready. I don't know what you're eating, but I'm eating Waitrose samosas because I love them at the moment. And I'm drinking vodka because that was just fun. That was fun, that answer.
Space cookies.
Eh?
Space cookies.
You're having cookies? Space
cookies.
Oh, shut up. No, I don't want space cookies. I want my Waitrose lamb samosas at the moment.
I've already had dinner, so I'm good.
Oh no, I'm getting hungry. I
might go out for a drink later after this podcast.
No, you can drink down the rabbit hole, manifest it as you know you can do. Right, joking aside, door number 7. So why, with what we just spoke about, you can come from your truth, your analogy, or from a larger perspective or context. Why are they here now? Now, I always preempt this with, yes, they've been with us since the beginning of recorded history. They're on, the caves, the walls, the pyramids, the religious books, blah, blah, blah. However, I'm emphasizing our timeline now where contact by, it's got to be in its millions now, is increasing, and I use the word repeatedly because I can't find a better descriptive word, exponentially. Okay, and more sightings, not just sightings of conscious UFOs, they're conscious, throw that one in the waters, but also a breakdown of physical reality. There's a lot more deja vus. There's so many different, where reality seems to be fracturing around us, whilst their increase in connection with us is happening. From your truth at this moment on this timeline that we could change anytime, why are they here now in such a presence, would you say?
I would say they're here in such a presence because the timelines are converging.
Oh, yes. I like that.
And we're all, and there was something, I don't know if you've heard about it, called Project Looking Glass.
Yes.
And what they did in Project Looking Glass was they would put information into this device and find out and be able to make jumps in time 20, 30, 40, 50 years into the future to watch, the experiment end, so they could say, okay, if we put this in, if we want to have this happen, we get more popular, more money, whatever, more influence, more control. If we do this, is that going to lead to better influence, more control, etc.? And they found that at a certain point, I think it was 2012, they kept getting the same damn answer. It was like always, doesn't matter what they put in, they got the same answer. So I would say, and that had a certain resonance to me, because it's like the more experience I as an individual have in the world, the more spiritually awakened and the more truth I can grasp, and the more awareness of my higher self I have, the more I can't really I can't trick myself anymore. I can't say, I'm such a victim. Oh, so-and-so happened. It's no, you're not. Right. So if that's happening for me, that's got to be happening for everybody. And that's also got to be happening for them. So that means we are weeding out all of the different variations and coming to more of a consensus on the truth. And I think the culmination of that will be a actual, not just isolated interaction with the extraterrestrials and humans, but it will become a commonplace interaction. I mean, at least that's, I think, where a lot of people want that to go. And now you could say there's people that are trying to prevent that from happening, and there's people that are trying to accelerate that. But and I think we don't really know what the outcome is going to be. Otherwise, everything would be written in stone.
Yeah.
But it is leading toward that point where there will be that actual contact. There will be an integration. Our civilizations will share.
Yeah.
And our civilizations will have a massive explosion of new experiential background with which to formulate our future existence from everybody's perspective. From our perspective, of course, because of the access to amazing technology and star travel and all the different races, and from their perspective of connecting to the human experience more directly than ever before, without having to sneak around behind boulders or come out behind rocks and trees and stuff.
Beautiful. I mean, wow. I mean, I love that. I mean, that resonates with, obviously when I express myself, I'm boring compared to what you've just done, but that's okay. That's okay, because you've expressed it on the podcast. That was really beautiful.
Thank you.
My truth is this, it's very similar, coming from from the non-duality, is I'm in the now, and all timelines, like there's been a fractalization of the higher self or the higher consciousness, whatever you want to call it, in this avatar, is all now coming back, all timelines coming into the now, all experiences. And at that point, and this is why also to add to that, many of us are doing the work on ourselves. Like you said, I can't be a victim no more. It's got to go. I can't be arrogant and have my head up my backside. No, it's got to go. I can't be aggressive. That's not who I am. That's not who I am. And we start what I call is deconstructing the statement, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And so my truth at the moment, it resonates with your beautiful narration of your truth there. That was awesome. I love that one. Right, now door number 8. In door number 8, we have touched, as I thought we would, we have touched on this a few times through the conversation. But if you give more clarification, in door number 8, why are they interested so much in us now? You have touched on that. Could you expand maybe a bit more?
Well, I would only have to say that it has to do with the urgency of the situation on our planet. And if they're really, and for those who are never sure or doubtful or whatever, it's fine that if they don't believe they exist. But let's say if they did exist, yeah. And they did interact, and they have been interacting with us for millions of years, probably since the beginning. Then, and we are maybe an experiment of theirs, or like a direct, process that they've agreed to participate in with us. Then I would imagine that the gig's up pretty soon, because I think that if you give any credibility to what scientists are saying about what the effect is of the planetary, let's not even give it words, but the program that they're, subjecting everybody to, that they want everybody to subject to, the genetic, the massive gene modification.
Wait, leave it there.
Right? Then, I think if they have a vested interest in something positive happening, something good coming out of this, or, maybe even something negative, I don't know, both, probably are participating, then they know there's an urgency to it now, and that it's almost like there's a clock ticking, never like there was before, when that
I resonate with the clock.
Right. And when they started that simulation back in Wuhan, and at the end of 2019, right, that play scenario of what actually is now happening in reality, that set in motion that a different pace, because never in the history of our modern society have we been walking lockstep like we have been now.
Yeah.
towards some conclusion.
Yes.
Right. And
I
that
agree.
we don't know what that conclusion is yet. Right. I know there's a lot of doomsdayers out there.
No doom
And,
here.
and you know, maybe they're right, but I mean, I can't do anything about it anyway. So all I can do is hope for the positive, right?
Yeah.
And contribute my aspect of consciousness to the positive outcome, and not so much, you know, invest any energy into, oh no, it's coming, you know, because if it comes and they're standing at the door, well, they're there. What can I say? I got my baseball bat, might help for a couple guys, but they're going to get me. Yeah. And
I love that. I love that. I mean, and I resonate with that. I mean, obviously, my weaker version of that statement, you definitely put me in my place today, is obviously to have the human experience, the spiritual being or conscious, to have this human experience in the 3D world, we have to experience polarity. Okay. And that's what all the human experience has been about, like good and bad, ugly, fat, skinny, whatever, Trevor. And we can't experience the human experience without a polarity. So it would follow it from my truth, what's going on now. I agree with you with the urgency. I love that analogy. And as a lifelong experiencer on the things that I am aware of, I'm aware that the clock's ticking. And that's why, you know, I'm going around and talking. You need to wake up a bit quick. Come on, listen. Let's shift this. Let's, you know.
Yeah, it is now or never, right?
Now or never. This is it now, and it's very close.
It's biblical.
However, that is coming out of the juxtaposition. That's coming from the Homo sapiens truth, and I'm aware of that. I'm observing it. However, coming from the other side, we've already done it. So that's why I smile a lot. It's just my truth, guys. We've already done it. We're still in the film. We're at the end of the film, and we've already done it. Or the other analogy I use, sorry, you're a man, so it may not resonate with you, is that it's when a woman gives birth, is giving birth. She goes through the most torturous suffering ever. She's got, you know, her spine's being shredded with knives. She's got hot coals in her abdomen. She's closest to death physically she's ever going to get. And it's hell. You can't think. This is, you know, evil. Do you want to call that evil? That's evil. However, we've gone through that, and we're at the end of that from the Homo sapiens perspective. And we're now just about to crown the head. And that's when all the pain, all the suffering stops. Don't push back. Don't put your attention on it. Allow it to pass. Stay in your space and be silent. And that's next. We're there at the end. That's one of my, I only do it because I'm a female, you know, and it just, you know. Anyway, but that's my analogy to it. We are there. From consciousness, though, we've done it. So I know it's an illusion. That's my truth. You don't have to believe a word I say. I wouldn't want you to. Go find your own truth. Everyone needs to find their own, but that's my truth. We've done it. And so what happens, because we're in a polarity existence, we need what we're witnessing out there to push down on us, to wake us. The more they push down, and you must have noticed in the past 2 years, the more, and I'm going to be cautious, the more regulations, illogical, stupefied, irrational regulations come out, it pushes and pushes the conscious being to go, what the fuck? I never knew this was going on. And boom, and they wake. So for me, there is nothing bad going on. It's just consciousness, because I think it's is in the polarity of this experience, pushing and pushing. So in the end, you go, it's not true. It's not real. Fuck this. It's a game. It's a game. And when you're in that, you go, oh, and then you realize you've already done it. But that's just my truth. So, you know, so I resonate with exactly what you've said. I, like you, and this is the fun part, it's like being a child. We don't know, even though there are, coming from the superposition, there is multiple potentialities that could occur. Okay, that's the fun, but it doesn't matter. We just evolve and go on. And I agree that these beings that we label ET, that really could be us, we're the spies here preparing, are assisting with that, because it is, I agree, urgent at the moment. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to add to what we've just discussed? That was so much fun.
Well, another analogy that came to mind as you were talking was the idea of a chess game, and two chess masters are facing off, and it's nearing the end of the game, and the winner, at one point, one of the players makes the move that he knows that's it. The other guy's lost.
Yeah.
And the other player knows that time when that move happens, the other player knows, damn, it's over. I've lost. Yeah. It's going to be over in, it could be over in 7 moves. Yeah. And the only thing that player can do at that point is he can extend the end. He can maybe push it to 12 moves or 15 moves if he's really good. But unless the player who just made the winning move makes a mistake, the game's already over.
Yeah.
But the audience that's watching, who aren't chess masters, they don't understand any of this. They're just watching two guys facing off, and they see a bunch of moves, and they're trying to figure out, like, what did he just do? What does that mean?
Yeah.
They don't realize the game's over until the actual game is over. Exactly. 7 to 15 moves later.
Yeah.
So we're in that place now where you could say the game's over.
The game's
over. I think there's nothing that can be said.
No.
Nothing new information wise that hasn't already been said.
No.
All the ancient traditions and wisdoms have all been said and read about, and all the channelers are bringing the same information out. And I mean, it's like it's getting to the point where it's almost boring, because
you know what? Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Says to me, "Have you read this book?" And I say, "God, I spent decades reading books. No, I can't. I can't read another book." I am total agreement to you. The time is now. The human experience was the learning, the knowledge, the experience, the interaction, the books, the studying, the research. That's for the human, the Homo sapiens sapien experience. I mean, I have no bloody idea, what we're going to be called after this. I mean, people have come up already with their names, but hold on. But I do know I will not be re-experiencing Homo sapiens sapien, because coming from the perspective as I do, and I've met so many lately in this state, there's another analogy that that resonates with me, and I got this years ago from Muji Baba. It's die before you die. You need to die before you die, which means the death of the identity who you think you are before you physically die. There's no coming back, by the way. Thank God for that. I just want to go. At the moment, I'm like, take me out of here, or do something. Because it's like, where are you, or where am I? And because I know it's done. It's done. And these are just like with the giving birth analogy, after a new life is born, there's just bits and bobs falling away, going on, and a bit of, trauma here and there. But it's new life, new beginnings. We are creators of our reality. We are that. And we can only ever create in the now. We can't create in the future, and we can't create in the past. It's only ever going to be in the now. If we think about a future event like, okay, next week I'm going to meet you, we're going to go and have a coffee, okay, Frank? But when next week comes, it's still now. It's still now. So there is, there's no future, there's no past. But this is if you want to use the terminology from my truth, the awakening is realizing that there's only now. Playing a role, mask on, I'm a mother, or I'm a host on a podcast. I know I'm playing the role. I know you're playing the role. And it's part of something you touched upon earlier on. Your analogy is like a computer, like the Matrix, but we're aware, like with Neo, being aware what's going on. And we've basically done it. So from that aspect is when I say to others, there is nothing to fear but the belief of fear itself. If you put your attention on the fear, that's what your reality is going to be. You will eventually get there, but you obviously want to go and experience a bit more fear and trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder. Being there,
there's a large imbalance of people in the world that seem to like the idea of experiencing fear still.
Yes.
That's hence the popularity of the horror film genre out there. Every film that you see out there now, every second film is another horror genre, or every ET film. I mean, everyone, right? It's like they're invading Earth and they're going to destroy us, and etc. Right?
Yeah, those ones definitely. But that's
it's a direct reflection. So a lot of people are into the fear thing, and but imagine, if everyone suddenly were to switch off the fear and say, you know what, I don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah,
it's like I just let it happen. Let it happen, man. Oh, we're going to die tomorrow because some whatever.
Yeah,
let it come. Yeah. Bring it on, right? And then nothing happens, and they all realize nothing would happen, right? And they realize, and everything is like that, and every evolutionary leap we've done has been like that. We've sort of been confronted with some massive superstition, and then it's like the shaman explains it to us, and we're like, oh, okay, and then we move past it.
Okay, and you move on. I so agree with you. These conscious beings are choosing to experience a little before whatever occurs.
They're extending the game.
They're extending, but they're extending their game. I'm out of it. I'm so not. I've been there, done it, and did it, and I got 4 Oscars for it. I was the best victim ever, and fear-based victim. But then another thing, before we close the podcast, and we need to stay on this topic because it's really relevant for now, is that one thing, the strongest ego identity belief system that the Homo sapiens sapien has, apart from the victim and all the rest, is fear. The fear of death.
Yes.
So what's being portrayed, I'm being very careful here, is the fear of death, the bogeyman. And you see Homo sapiens sapien doing irresponsible actions because they're scared they're going to die. Hello? The physical body is going to die at some point and you can't control it. Why are you fearing something you can't control? And then the fact is, that's just from the Homo sapiens sapien perspective. But when you come into the awareness of who you truly are, and I just call it non-duality because it's easy for me and I'm not as elegant as you, is bring it on, because I accept I'll die before I die. I bring it on. And then the illusion fractures. It fractures and reforms in its true, I don't know what it's going to be, so I can't find the words for it, but the next stage of the human experience. How does that resonate with you? I'm sure you're going to sort of narrate that a lot more elegantly. Please do. But how does that relate to you? That how they're fearing something, it's death.
Yes, I think you hit the nail on the head with that, really, Gloria. And I think the fear of death is what paralyzes everybody. And I think we all need to grow up and come to terms with the fact that death is something.
Yeah.
It may happen to us, probably will, likely. And I while you were talking, I kept remembering, we've been working on another film with an ice climber. Mm-hmm. Now, it isn't somebody who's an experiencer or anything like that. He's an extreme athlete. And one of the questions that we ask him is, you know, how do you deal with the fact that, you could die?
Mm.
And the answer is very interesting, because it's like, and in his particular case, he went through the whole process of preparing for death, like, because it's like, if he was doing this climb 220 meters on ice straight up, no secure lines, just free, about the craziest climb you could imagine.
Yeah.
And because, on ice, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But at some point the idea just was paralyzing him, because he realized if he spends all his time thinking about death, he's not going to succeed.
No.
He should be instead thinking about how he should be visualizing the success of it, not the death of it, because what happens will happen.
Yeah.
And at that point, it freed him. And, it's not to say that along his climb, there were several stages, like the point of no return, for example, where, at this point, if you keep going, when you fall, you're probably going to, be seriously wrecked, or maybe even dead, where, below that, you just walk away with a broken leg or something. That point of no return is a real psychological number on all those athletes. And at a certain point, much higher up at the crux, just before the crux of the climb, there's a rest station. And the worst thing that he said he did in the climb was stay in the rest station and relax.
Oh, shit.
Because at that point, when he relaxed, he started to think, oh my God, like, that's like pretty far down there, right? And I can see the trees now. Oh, would that hurt if I landed now, right? And what about my dog if I die, and my girlfriend, right? And the voices started coming into his head, and it was crippling him.
Yeah.
And he had to learn to just discipline his mind, shut that crap out.
Yeah.
Remember who he is.
Yeah. Be
in the now.
Yeah.
And just take one step at a time. And he climbed past the crux, made it all the way to the top, easy. And after it was all said and done, he reflects on it, saying, I always knew I was going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew I was going to do it. And you wouldn't believe it from the process that he goes through climbing it up. Up to the top, but and it has everything to do with fear, and how fear cripples us. And the fear of death is the biggest one. And the fear of being hurt, and the fear of pain. I mean, we all have it still to some degree. I think for me, it's more pain than death. I don't want to be like lying there for days in pain, but if it's over, I want it to be over fast.
I'm one of those. I've always said to my children, when I go out, can you get someone with, I hope it's going to be with a bullet straight to the.
Right. I mean, you don't want to lie there, suffer, and go through all the self-pity and all this stuff, right?
So obviously there's still a bit of, I used to say to my children then, and, and I say, oh God, if making that statement, there's a bit of ego there, isn't there? Oh, I better get over that. Yeah. But I used to do that. I want to go like that, I mean, I jest now, and I will say, I'm just going to get on the speedboat and piss off, because I've had enough of this. I'm not playing. I'm going on strike. I'm not playing this role no more. As Gloria, that's it. I'm out of the cast. I'm going to another production company. But yes, it is. It's the fear is what, and that's what I spoke earlier. And when consciousness in the polarity, so we've got to have what you would perceive good and bad. It's not really, but we've got to have that push of what you perceive as a bad or negative energy coming in to push you up that ice pick, man, up, overcome, let it go. You are not your thoughts, you are not your beliefs, you're more than, and you know who you are. Wake up. And then he reaches the top. And it's the same for all of us conscious beings. Now, that was an absolutely beautiful conversation. Is there anything else you want to add before we end the podcast? That was fantastic.
Well, I only hope that more and more of us out there come to this realization. Yeah. And this, I think, will begin to accelerate exponentially, as you mentioned earlier, this inheritance that we have coming from us, from our future.
Yes.
Because like you say, we're already there. Yeah. We're waiting for us. We're the ones, what does Hope you say? We're the ones we've been waiting for, right?
Yeah. We're the ones we're waiting for.
I just hope more of you out there start to, open up to this, and then I think we have good chances.
Yep. Go out there. You have choice. You have free choice. Find your truth that works for you. And you don't have to believe a word I say or what Frank says, but use some discernment. Just go find your own truth. Free yourself up. Life, believe it or not, you may not think so at the moment, but life is for experiencing and enjoying the play of form. And on that note, before I say thank you to Frank, I'm doing my advertising bit, as I do. This is my professional mode. So you'll find Inception Podcast on Forbidden Knowledge News Network. There's great podcasts on there. I don't know them all, but I am aware of Forbidden Knowledge News, Beyond Classified, Day Zero, The Dawson Files, Raised by Giants, and the lovely Ryder Lee. I love Ryder Lee. And Inception Podcast. So thank you, guys. Until I have another conversation with another amazing being, I thank you. Take care and see you soon. Bye.